Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Can everyone hear me? The back? Yes? Thank you. Hi. I'm Narain Jashanmal. I'm a fourth-generation member of the Jashanmal family, one of the older businesses out here in the Middle East, almost 100 years old. We're a multi-channel, multi-divisional, multi-product consumer goods and luxury apparel retailer. And I'm here today to talk to you about retail, where technology becomes human. And I want to start with two quotes. The first by Arthur C. Clarke, the science fiction author. Any sufficiently advanced technology is indistinguishable from magic. And the second, a variation from what we just heard, we tend to overestimate the effect of technology in the short run and underestimate it in the long run. I'm sure many of you are familiar with this pyramid. It's Maslow's hierarchy of human needs. And the part that I want to focus on today is at the top of the box, self-actualization. So what do I mean by self-actualization in the context of shopping, in the context of retail? What am I talking about? Presumably today, most shoppers have their basic needs, the things sort of at the bottom of the pyramid. Presumably most shoppers have those already taken care of. There's an abundance of commodities. Everybody's already consuming far more than they need. And so the question as a retailer is, how do you get them to buy more stuff? This is something that the luxury goods industry understands extremely well. They recognize that the ultimate pursuit of humans is towards self-actualization, and that shopping is the means by which they can hope to come closer to an idealized version of themselves, the way people can reach the way they hope to look, feel, be, which, not coincidentally, is the same vision that these companies sell. Buy the shirt, buy the jacket, wear the aftershave, you get the boat, you get the girl, you too can be Jude Law. I shop, therefore I am. The point here is that the shop is human. It speaks to something very primal within us, and it addresses our basic needs, of course, but increasingly, it also speaks to our higher needs. But how do we know what's good? How do we know what we're supposed to be buying? In the past, we looked at things like royal warrants, by appointment of Her Majesty. We looked to critics. We listened to word of mouth, or simply put, as in this slide, there was a scarcity of available options, and it meant that we didn't have a lot of choice. We bought what we could afford, the little of what was available to us. In today's era of abundance and glut of choice, we've got tools to help us decide. But how do these tools work? How do they help us decide what's right, what to buy? The same way that it corrected my spelling mistake here, algorithms, big data, patterns of searching and clicking and buying, all being analyzed in near real time on a massive scale. It's communal intelligence, it's the hive mind, it's popularity as a proxy for quality. But we don't just want the best. We want what's the best for us as individuals. We want to be acknowledged as individuals. We like to think that we're different, nonconformists, unique and special snowflakes. There's a contradiction at work there, of course. Serendipity. It's the universe's way of telling us that we're unique and special, that there's something, someone out there just for us. It's the kind of bookstore that you go into, not knowing what you're looking for until you find it, or rather, it finds you. And it's a problem that technology has been trying to solve. It's something of a holy grail, or maybe even fool's gold. The reality is that we're still a long way away from an algorithm for serendipity. Looking back at the bestsellers of the last decade, The Da Vinci Code, Harry Potter, Twilight, Hunger Games, 50 Shades of Grey, their huge success could not have been predicted prior to their release. And studying their success post facto doesn't really help in crafting the next success. That success is predicated on breaking out of the book reading audience to the non-book reader, reaching a customer who isn't even part of your audience, who isn't listening to what you're saying. and who never otherwise buys your product. How does that happen? In 1984, Orwell presents a bleak vision of the future, a totalitarian state patrolled by the thought police, the suppression of individuals and their needs, wants, desires in the name of conformity and what's good for the state. A simultaneous indictment of both socialism and capitalism. The future of Fahrenheit 451 is no less bleak, one in which ideas have been banned, and the vessels for ideas, books, are illegal. Firemen don't put out fires, but rather they burn books. Fahrenheit 451 is a temperature at which paper burns. But the ending of Fahrenheit 451 is a good fair bit more upbeat than 1984. The interesting thing about both of these books, indeed what unites them, is that they're both set in a future. They're only indirectly concerned with technology of that future. Their direct concern is the ideas around technology, the consequences of technology, and the central metaphor for pervasive technology in both the books is the same. A connected, always-on screen that watches us as much, in fact more, than we watch it. Does that sound familiar? Here's a science fiction work that's a lot more directly concerned with the advanced technology of the future. So what is the final frontier? The mission of the original Enterprise was to boldly go where no man had gone before, to explore strange new worlds, to seek out life in new civilizations, a lot of which were less advanced than where we as humans had evolved to. This can, of course, be seen as a metaphor for self-discovery. But what's interesting about Star Trek is how, as the show progressed from the original series to The Next Generation, and Starfleet's mission, Starfleet's technology became more advanced, the mission was less about overcoming the simplicity and barbarism of of the more simple civilizations they encountered, but more about resisting the abandonment of humanity in the face of technology. Indeed, their overriding adversary in The Next Generation was the Borg, a super advanced race that fuses technology into their bodies at birth and subsumes their individual identity in favor of a collective intelligence. The Enterprise's mission, therefore, became to avoid humanity's evolution into the Borg. It looks like I've actually got my slides mixed up. This is not the Borg. This is a guy wearing Google Glass standing in a shower. This was supposed to be a picture of the Borg. There we go. That's the Borg. For those of you who don't know, that's what they look like. So, the technology adoption curve. You all know this curve. Introducing a new technology is the easy part. Shifting people's behavior, especially on a societal level, is the hard part. The speed of adoption is along the x-axis, is a function of shifts in behavior. The light bulb wasn't invented in 1878 by Thomas Edison, but rather as early as 1802 by a little-known person by the name of Humphrey Davy. But Edison was the one who was able to commercialize it. Timing and context has an awful lot to do with a product's success. So does luck. It's easy for us all to get caught up in technology and business operations and to forget about the idea, the premise, the raison d'etre behind what it is we're trying to do, the problems we're trying to solve, the behaviors we're hoping to influence. Shopping. It's a fundamentally human experience, but one that's been hugely impacted by technology. Not just where we shop, increasingly online, but also how we shop, using the research tools I alluded to earlier. And who we listen to about what we buy. Word of mouth shaped and influenced and amplified by social media. But as the growth and trajectory of e-commerce continues, and sort of inevitable growth of e-commerce, we are trading human contact in favor of convenience. And as we move from physical goods to virtual goods, from warehouses to server farms, with virtual goods, we're wedding ourselves only to ones and zeros and algorithms. I want you to think about your favorite shop. It could be anywhere in the world, selling anything. Think about what makes it special to you, why it's your favorite, what it looks like, the way it smells, what they sell, and how they sell it, the people who work there, and the uniforms they wear. Here's one of my favorites. A little bakery in the 6th arrondissement of Paris that's become a global business. Its founder chose not to follow the fashion of the day by baking baguettes, but instead stuck to the more rustic and traditional sourdough loaf, imperfect and unrefined in appearance, yet distinctive and unique in taste. Today, the business is in the hands of the third generation, and their bread is the choice of Michelin-starred restaurants across the city, tourists visiting Paris for just a few days, wait in long lines to try the bread. They've used technology to extend and expand their business, despite the fact that bread is probably the least likely candidate for an e-commerce business. They ship bread around the world. They've even got a standing order from an American gentleman who's prepaid to ensure that his family, his children, and his grandchildren get a fresh loaf of bread from this Paris bakery every week. Crucially, though, they haven't lost sight of who they are and what they do. Yes, they're online. And while plenty of food blogs have written about them, reviewed them, they're not doing anything exceptional to manage their social media presence. They don't have an app. They're not running extensive PPC campaigns. They're just baking damn good bread the way they've done for 75 years. Because after all, what could be more human than a warm, freshly baked loaf of bread? Thank you very much.